That's what we've been doing.
We're just waiting for you guys to roll on in, and we are going to talk over this slate today. Before, in case you are here already, I'm going to remind everybody, and I'll put it up on the screen, to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all the plays. Check out everything that Cheats is doing. Check out everything Rody's doing. Check out what I'm doing. And again, reminder that we can, if you get SaberSim through us, you literally are spending a few dollars more for all of our premium content. And if, by the way, just want to throw out a basketball thing before we get into everything baseball-wise before everybody shows up. I am now at over 80%, back again at 82% for the playoffs. I've been on fire with my bets. I won every bet yesterday. It was just 5 bets, but still, they all hit. I had a friend who hit a nice parlay on that one, so that was cool to see. But I would really suggest you guys check those out, especially as it comes to basketball. It's a little harder with baseball. I'm more betting on run totals is what my thing is there. So that's that. But Rody, great to have you here. What's up to K9, who's already in here? We got people popping into chat. So Rody, what are your thoughts on this slate? We got some big tournaments today. Hopefully one of us can hopefully we go 1, 2, 3 in the 1K, and then everybody else in the chat can win all the other tournaments.
Yeah, right. Yeah, today's a fun slate. It's a lot of games. I think the chalk's very concentrated. There's some weather popping up here we got to watch out for. We got a few things to talk about. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff before the show. I think we're kind of on the same page tonight. How to get different and whatnot in these big tournaments we got tonight. But I mean, my write-ups were easy today, guys. It was literally, we had solid pitching at the top. We got solid stacks at the top as well. So just trying to figure out how to get different with those top stacks and pitchers is going to be the key.
Absolutely. And I think that, so like, just going through it, I'll start off with my very top stacks, and then you can rebut with yours. Then we'll go with the pitching. I mean, look, I think the Dodgers run total creeping up and getting so high is actually forcing me to probably come off of them a little bit. Now, I'm still going to have them as probably the most used players, but I don't mind if you use 2 of them or 1 of them or 3 of them or 5 of them or 4 of them. They're going to be Dodgers all over my lineups. But if I'm going to use 5 of them, what I was talking to you about pre-show, I think you absolutely have to include at least one of Lux or Chris Taylor, just on game theory alone. Probably Will Smith you'd throw in that mix a little bit, but you want to get the lowest owned of the bunch, and the only way to do it is to play these guys. So if you're going to make a full 5-man stack, I personally like the 7, 8, 9. I mean, these guys have every bit as much the opportunity. The problem is they just happen to be further down the order, so they possibly get one less at bat. I'm still all over the Bellinger, Lux, Taylor train, and I think you can use all 3 of those together. You can play 2 of those 3 with Will Smith, and then you start your stack with the other. Then you throw in the Turner Freeman or the Turner or the Turner bets or the Freeman bets. But you have to include some of the lower owned guys, right? If you're going to make a 5-man stack, that's going to be chalky. So if you're going to go that route, wouldn't you agree, Rody? That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, we talked about that pre-show a little bit. Get one of those guys in there different with that stack. I do like that idea, and I think that's what you got to do. At least one of them, probably 2 of them would be best. Maybe higher dollar, we can get away with one of them. I'll see what I end up on tonight, but I do like a 5-man Dodger stack.
Yeah, so that's my theory that's my strategy if you're going to play the Dodger stack. The other thing you could do is play the Dodger 3-man or secondary, and that works out perfectly fine. You can even play the chalky guys if you have a stack that's less owned. I'm going to talk through a couple of other stacks that I like. I like the Yankees. Not a shocker there. I don't think that anybody's totally off the board. The thing that's weird though is that, again, it's not weird that they're going to get low ownership because they've been awful. If they were going to have higher ownership than they did, the truth is the only thing guys I expect to be that high owned would be Judge, maybe Stanton, and maybe Gallo. I actually think Anthony Rizzo, who's red hot, will not be owned tonight. So I would consider including guys like that into those stacks. I also like the White Sox. The Astros are a weird one because I don't love the lineup, but I like the spot. The White Sox, these are more secondary stacks for me. Toronto and Texas are the teams I'm using for secondary stacks. How about you?
Yeah, I like those. I wrote up kind of like Toronto, Houston, Dodgers, kind of my favorite. Those are my most popular stack teams out there. I thought maybe Atlanta's too cheap on DK as well. I threw that in the Discord earlier, guys. Jump in there. We're talking all day. I also had Angels a little bit as lower owned, kind of. A few other guys are power bats, and then Texas, I think, was on FanDuel. Like I think you said Texas, right?
Yeah, on FanDuel especially because Seager's like 2,800.
Yeah, they're cheap over there, so that's why they're kind of popping up over there. So I like them on FanDuel, and then a little. I know you're probably gonna hate this one, but like a low on stack of Boston. I just think Boston's really good. I know they're going against Gaussman today, but low ownership, power bats, the homer upside, maybe a mini stack or something.
Look, I love any contrarian stack that has talented players on their team and that are all underpriced considering what they've been priced in the past. Now, Gaussman has been awesome. That's no question about it. Going back to all through last year, I was always the guy who played Gaussman and Bundy every day because I was like, nobody plays these guys in their 6K every day. I just always would play them. They used to pitch when they pitched for the Orioles. Now that they actually have realized that I am going to use some Gaussman, by the way, which I'll get into in a minute, but I think that if Devers was in the lineup, I would be more inclined to go there. But my initial take is if you're betting on baseball, I think you should bet the over in the Boston-Toronto game today. I think it's a very, very, very good bet. It's a 7.5 total with I could see Toronto scoring over 7 runs. You know what I mean? Like alone. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But it's just the Boston, because of the no Devers in their lineup. It's just sort of their lineup is just a little bit weakened, but that's the only reason why I'm a little bit off of it. The other one the really get weird 150 lineups. I feel like the Angels. I actually love McKenzie as a pitcher, but I feel like there's a huge bust path for this guy because he still has trouble finding the strike zone sometimes when he pitches, and no one will play the Angels. So if you want a really low owned stack, there's an interesting way to go. But I think you can get low owned enough in that Houston Texas game where I think, outside of, I think Goodrum will be really popular. I think that Siri will be really popular. I don't care what the numbers say right now. That's just my prediction. I don't think anybody on DraftKings is playing that much of Seager, maybe a little bit of Simeon. They'll definitely play Brad Miller. But then you could throw a Nathan Lowe or a Jonah Heim, who no one's going to play at batting seventh, who actually can hit the ball. And I think that there's just different ways to get different with that stack. Adolis Garcia, obviously, too. But so I just like that game and that game environment. The roof's supposed to be open at 73 degrees in Texas. Always better when the roof's open in Texas. So that just want to have my eyes a little bit on that one. All right, let's turn it over to pitching. And guys, pop in any questions and thoughts, and we'll jump over to them right when we're done with this. Turning it over to pitching, I'll go through my guys. My number ones are, I think Rodon is like, I mean, I don't care about the ownership and I think a guy is that much better than everybody else. Now, I'm not going to lock him in, but he's going to be in the majority of my lineups, put it that way. I think the other guys who I'm going to mix in, Severino, I was higher on before we got the really, really good hitters ump, the really bad pitchers ump. So I'm not as high on that one. Then you get Max Fried, who also has the extreme hitters ump in maybe the most extreme in Marquez. So that's throwing me off a little bit. But Alcantara is my get wild one. And then I like the Fried, Gaussman. I do have a couple Josiah Grays. But I really like Sandoval. You also get the best pitchers ump in baseball. I like the upside against the Cleveland team that's very boom and bust. And yeah, he does get wild. Yes, he does walk some people outside of Jose Ramirez. There's not a whole lot of patient hitters on that Cleveland side. And the strikeout upside is enough for me there to where I feel safe. And I feel like there's upside for him because not only because he's a guy who gets a little wild when Bill Miller's behind the plate, can help him out even on 2 pitches through a start. That kind of thing can make the difference in your pitcher putting up 25 points or putting up 16. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm a little bit into Sandoval. And then I am gonna eat a little bit of the Eduardo Rodriguez just because I believe in the talent level versus price versus a lineup that people could say, oh, there's some scary bats. But in reality, when Kyle Garlick is batting fourth, I'm not going to sit here and hear that, oh, they're so scary because they've got Kyle Garlick hitting fourth. Like, you know what I mean? So those are my pitchers for the most part. I am throwing in Severino as a pivot off of some of that. I'm sorry, not Severino, Stroman as a pivot. He's my really super get weird play. Atlanta is not the same offense without Freddie Freeman. I mean, look, imagine a team loses Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna, definitely 2 of the top 10 hitters in baseball. And you can ask anybody. That's a fact. They don't have those guys anymore, and they get treated like we should be afraid. Whatever. Okay. Stroman can keep the ball on the ground. Doesn't really make me worried about the wind in Atlanta or anything like that. And I think at 5,900, he's just at the price point where it makes enough sense to play him. And I probably will get really weird and play one Stroman lineup with Eduardo Rodriguez and sort of a la Kyle Gibson and Barrios as of yesterday, which almost really worked if we didn't have a bunch of guys putting up 35s and 40s. Anyway, who are you pitching tonight?
I don't. Last time Rodon was on a slate with a value pitcher like Rodriguez, I just locked both of them in on DK.
Oh, you're with it. Oh, you're just going with it.
And I think I'm just going to lock him in. I kind of talked about that in my write-up. I mean, Rodon's probably a lock. I do like Severino, but I'm worried about that weather game. I think he grades out okay at 9.2. Patrick Sandoval, he grades out pretty good. Cleveland's been hitting the ball well, but yeah, I definitely like him. Like you said, extreme umpire there. But yeah, I like Rodon and Rodriguez today the most. I don't play a lot of lineups, guys, so those are really my locks of the day, and I think I'm just going to ride it out and hope for the best.
He doesn't play a lot of lineups until he does. I've seen this guy max enter before.
I have Max Center. I actually probably have better ROI Max Center.
I mean,
because I don't do it as often, and I do well when I do it. I've had hits on, so
I'm the exact same, Rody. I barely do it, but when I do it, it's usually for a football, and I almost always have a huge Sunday on the day it happens. Even if it's not from one of those 150s, it's like from something else. All right, so let's get into some questions and thoughts, and then I'm going to jump into, unfortunately, at some point, a little basketball because I've been having some people asking me about it. Anybody who can help anybody in chat, by the way, I think it might be the NBA channel asking for a link. I don't know why people are not getting the link for it pops up automatically in our Discord, and it's the same link it's always been. So anybody who can help us out, if anybody asks for a link ever, please help us out during the show. All right. I was right about last night. Arizona was shut down. I was right about that. As I said, I thought Arizona was the worst stack, and I loved Bueller as a pivot. I'm happy I went with some Bueller. Had I gone with a little more, could have been a really, really, really good night for your guy over here. Bunch of people just saying, what's up? Big Vlad night tonight, maybe. Triple J says, I love Vlad tonight. I just love a lot of first basemen and a lot of outfielders tonight. Rody, where do you stand on Vlad in Toronto?
Yeah, it's really tough tonight. I do like the Toronto stack. I think I'm going to try to do some sort of Toronto Houston stack, or maybe as kind of my second lineup on DK, or get some of that on FanDuel, at least somewhere. Definitely Vlad. I do like him. Maybe like a mini stack, Vlad, Collins, and Springer type stack today, possible. I do really like that. But yeah, Freddie Freeman I kind of like a lot today. First baseman's real tough today. That's a tough one.
It's a strong position, that's to say the least. So yeah, and then if they're, I've even spending down. I have somewhere I'm even spending down on guys. I like some of the KC bats. Like, I like Hunter Dozier's power upside. You know what I mean? You want to get 2,800 and go a little bit different with your first base spot. I'm doing some of that. All right, let's get back into the thoughts, the questions. Howdy to John. Howdy to Nick. Rondon on FanDuel and don't get cute for pitching. That's generally my theory. The pitchers I'm playing on FanDuel it's Rodon, by the way. Rodon, Fried, and Severino. I might change the Fried and Severino a little bit, just because I'm getting a discount from Rodon that's pretty significant, but I don't love pitching these guys with a pitcher's ump in not the ideal conditions. So I'm a little nervous about those two, but that's what I'm doing on FanDuel. Rody, are you playing on FanDuel today?
Yes, I actually am playing on FanDuel. I haven't even started my FanDuel lineups. I'm going to get to it. Yeah, Rodon. I'm going to lock Rodon, and then maybe my second lineup will have Rodriguez. Just a punt lineup, just to be different.
Hey, I like it. Anything that's different, I can always agree with in baseball. Texas stacks on DK, Rody. I like it a lot. I'm using them more as a mini stack myself, but I am totally fully on board if you want to go Texas stack. How about you?
Texas. I like them better on FanDuel. I think I'm gonna probably end up with some of them in my lineup. I don't think I'm gonna get to them on DK, but I don't mind the team. I think they got a lot of strong bats on that team, so I definitely like it. And I don't think Orduzzi just got rocked on his last start, so anything can happen over there.
Yeah. You do have a good bullpen behind him, which is always a little bit of a full stacking concern. So I tend to like them more as a secondary stack, if for no other reason than just for that. When you've got really good guys in the bullpen, that sometimes is my final decision maker. Do I like any White Sox full stacks? I do. I talked about that at the beginning. I'm more interested in the smaller stacks. I mean, think about it. The White Sox, I was talking about Atlanta missing 2 players, but the White Sox are without Moncada, Jimenez, and Robert, which are 3 of their best 5 hitters. So we shouldn't in general be trying to target teams that are missing 3 of their 5 best hitters. But because of the pricing, And because of the extreme talent versus left-handed pitching the team has overall, and like Grandal's price, even though I didn't used to play him against lefties, although I think he's changed his swing a little bit now. His price on FanDuel at what is it, 2,400? That's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And you could play him with Abreu and use up those spots, sort of like I was talking about using Will Smith in the FanDuel spot for the Dodgers and then playing Freeman in the utility. You could do that same thing with Abreu and Grandal. And then Tim Anderson, we all know Tim Anderson crushes left-handed pitching. I don't think that's brand new for anyone else. And then Andrew Vaughn would be my next favorite. So those are my 4 guys from them. I don't mind including a 5th one, but I personally am siding with those 4. How do you feel about a Chicago White Sox stack?
I'm not on a stack, but I did get a lineup with like Vaughn at 4,100 in the outfield left. I'm still debating on that. Do I like that play? I mean, you talked about it, so I kind of like that play now.
Nice.
So I mean, I like them more as one-offs maybe or mini stacks. So I think they're viable.
Yeah,
he's still kind of chalky though at 16% on DK.
What's Vaughn?
Yeah, Vaughn's getting some ownership. I didn't.
Yeah, because the first base and outfield eligibility too helps him.
Oh, double. Okay, yeah, okay.
And that first base where you want to spend in that lower range, because there's not a whole lot of guys in that 35 to 4,500 range. It's like you want to spend up.
Like you got Brad Miller. That's why he's getting some ownership too. First base outfield eligible.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. I'm getting kind of some of these guys as last pieces because I can fit them in with these Dodger stacks and stuff. But man, it's a tough night.
Yeah, and by the way, you could bet on some other things that no one's talking about. I think that you could make an argument for playing the Cardinals and St. Louis, another hitters umpire. I think you could argue for both sides of that game as completely unowned stacks. I don't want to overwhelm you with stacks, so I tell you what I'm doing, and then I just throw other ones. This is one that I'm not doing, but has come across my plate today, so I'm just throwing that out there. Nick wants to talk some hoops. What a shocker there. I really, guys, we're on air at the same time, basically everything. Everybody asking me questions in the Discord is always a little bit of a distraction while I'm trying to do it. So anybody else, just it's a tough question. It's one I could answer better verbally for anybody who sees the question in chat. So if we get that guy in there, but I will talk a little basketball at some point. I am going to throw out a few of the one-offs that I think are awesome. Zach Collins, not a shocker, catcher there. I love Bichette as a shortstop option. I love a lot of shortstops today, so I have a lot of double shortstop lineups on FanDuel. I don't treat BVP like it's gospel, but I like Toronto anyway. We got the nice grand slam out of Bichette yesterday, and Bichette 8 for 17 with 5 extra base hits in his career against the pitcher and only 2 strikeouts. That's something that I against Pivetta. I'll take some shots here with Bichette a lot as a one-off or maybe a little 2-man. One other one-off I love is Matt Olson. He's too cheap for one thing. And Stroman is an extreme ground ball pitcher, and Olson's an extreme fly ball hitter. And same thing with Duvall, but he's batting 7th today. He's 2,500. You can get a nice little mini stack of those two at like no ownership. I think that's a really good way to complement like a Dodger stack that you're going to go 5 more chalkier plays with the guy with 2 guys who are going to be less than 5% owned, who both have extreme power upside. Even though Stroman in general keeps the ball on the ground, when you put the extreme fly ball versus the extreme ground ball pitchers, you can often connect. That's how it works. And the same thing for fly ball pitchers with guys who hit more line drives and more balls on the ground, it tends to even itself out. We got an answer Drew guy here. So I'm going to answer this one question, and Rody, you can tell me your thoughts on this. If I see low ownership on a guy at the start of the day, then you look at the same guy later and his ownership is way too high. Do you jump off him or do you stay on him? Not sports specific. It's totally sports specific. I don't believe in the early ownerships. Don't look at them. I think we'd all be better off in baseball if you really, it's a shame because I have to, because we do shows earlier, but honestly, it's probably hurt my game as much as anything. These ideas of ownerships, they're just ideas. And SaberSim is much better at projecting it at the ownership than any other site that I've looked at by astronomical amounts. There was guys who certain other sites that I'm well known for working for who do a lot of other things great, but they had guys projected at 4 or 5% who were 35% owned. It just doesn't make any sense how bad people are at projecting things. It used to be better in baseball. It's gotten much, much worse. And especially it depends on the tournament field size. So I don't let anything that ownership dropping or raising on a guy. I don't care what everybody else thinks. I could give a damn if I didn't think I was better than other people, I wouldn't be doing this. And I don't care whether the projected ownership of somebody is going to drop. That doesn't just mean other people don't like him. Great. That means I'll probably get more of the guy, to be honest with you. Rody, how do you treat things like that?
I mean, yeah, I don't look at much stuff during the day unless I do a show, and then I prepare for it. But like right now, like I'm just looking at stuff right now. So I got live data and I'm ready to go. I'm getting the most accurate weather, the most accurate stuff right now. I'm not building lineups at noon and just locking them in. I'm getting the accurate data right now. So did you ask more than that? Is that all you asked?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
That's cool. That's cool for now.
I'm really focused on my lineup right now. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we'll get you out of here in 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to say that Jock Peterson it's fine. He's hot right now. Go ahead and do it if you want to. I don't really like one-offs of players in San Francisco. Bullpen game-ish. No, I guess Dalton Jeffries, they'll let him go. I don't think he's that bad, but he could get ugly. If it was a smaller slate, I certainly would look at San Francisco in general. As it stands with Peterson at 4K, I like him less than Vaughn. I like him less than some other guys, but I think he's fine. No problem with Jock Peterson, right, as a one-off.
Yeah, he's been tearing it up for homers.
Yep. I know when Green Monster asks his questions, though, every time there's a question from Green Monster, it's the last couple games the guy went completely nuts. And that's just it's totally a good question anyway. But we just try to be wary of in general. You don't want to just play the last couple games as if there's any meaning to it. It's just if you get to like 9-10 games, the guys are hot. There's something to it. Maybe even if they have a couple back-to-back home runs, there's something to it. But it's a very minimal percentage. But I do think Jock Peterson, his power is always interesting. He's a guy who can hit balls out of San Francisco as well as anybody else can, because when he hits them out, he hits them a mile out. So I have no problem with it. He's not a guy who's crossing my radar because he doesn't fit in with any of my builds. But I totally am fine with it. Outfield punts on DK would be Jose Siri, right?
Yeah. Siri's a good play right now. He might be in my main lineup here. Actually, I got him right now. I can't figure out this catcher outfield combination tonight. It's tricky. I can't.
That's where you're struggling. I think the outfield's loaded. I don't happen to love a lot
of. That's what I mean. It's loaded. So like getting the right outfielders that I want, and then getting my last piece catcher, or whether I go with like a Vlad or pay down option at first base or Freeman. How I construct it, I just don't know. I really like Mookie today, but Jordan's sitting there at 5.4. If I play him over Tucker, I still have a lot of money left on catcher. Like, do I want to pay up at this catcher spot? I guess I could pay up at pitcher maybe instead of get off Rodriguez.
Yep.
Go with a Bobby pitcher. Let's do it.
What's that? What was the question? Did I lose you, Rody?
No, you can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. You started to say something, but then I didn't hear the rest of it.
Oh, my bad. I just said I might go with a Bobby pitcher here, like a little bit more priced up than Rodriguez, one of these guys that you liked. So
yeah, I think Gausman makes a lot of sense, but I also could see a bus path there for sure. So the outfield punts are Garlick. If you're not playing Rodriguez, Siri, Bellinger is not quite a punt. McCormick in a Houston stack, you could play along with Siri and then just spend up everywhere else. Joey Gallo in a Yankee stack. It's just what's shocking to me is that Joey Gallo and Cody Bellinger would be projected the same amount owned, basically in the exact same spot, right? You got a fairly weak righty, except for the Dodgers have a higher run total. Why are people playing Joey Gallo over Bellinger? And I have some Joey Gallo tonight in my Yankee stacks. But if both these stacks are supposed to be owned and the Dodgers are supposed to be more owned, why the hell would you play Gallo over Bellinger? Bellinger's the reigning player of the week. He's in a whole different level of a hitter than Joey Gallo it seems to be right now. Joey Gallo hasn't hit a home run in, I think, his last 30 games. So I am throwing him in there in some Yankee stacks, but I would much rather play Bellinger than Gallo. But that's the sort of the bottom end guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think he's cheap though on DK, right? So kind of cheap.
Which one?
Gallo.
Yeah, but Bellinger's cheaper. And they're both batting 7.
No, they're cheap, both cheap. Hell, they're in the optimal. They're both in the same lineup. Yeah, they're both in the same lineup.
I like it. Throw Chris Taylor in the mix, and then all of a sudden you're getting weird within the chalky stacks.
Yeah.
You play all three of them.
What's Gallo supposed to be? 16%? Okay.
Who is?
Gallo's 16% on DK?
I just can't understand why they're even like that similar. You know what I mean?
But yeah, they're both 16%. Yeah, okay.
And I love Joey Gallo because of his power upside, but I mean, sometimes we have to realize the name is carrying a little bit more than the guy himself actually is. The guy hasn't had 10 fantasy points in a game this season. All right. What about Buxton? Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely. I'm never going to say no to a Buxton one-off. If you're not playing Erod against a lefty, I'll play Buxton all the time. I don't care. I happen to not have gotten to him because I like the other outfield better, but I have no problem. Cold weather, whatever, that guy can crush the ball. So I have no problem with Buxton. Rody, Buxton as a one-off, I'm sure you can co-sign that it's fine, right?
Yeah, I'd co-sign, but man, I'm playing Rodriguez though, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, no.
Hell, I mean, last night the guy had a player that won the money and both stacked against his pitcher, both pitchers.
I know it's just so crazy when that happens.
So
I mean,
crazy.
We can't be that dumb. I've done it by accident. I told you I won a big, huge tournament. I won the lottery thing for 100K when they used to not have them. When I accidentally had one lineup where my pitcher was facing my hitter, and my hitter hit a home run and a stolen base. My pitcher threw a complete game, one hitter with one walk. And guess who it was? It was my guy who hit the home run, Mike Trout, and stole the base. So he also had like 14 strikeouts.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, it happens. I mean, sometimes you got a late swap or the lineup doesn't come out till late and it's not what you thought.
Yeah.
Things happen. Sometimes you get kind of screwed.
Ooh, we are going to have to go soon because Bogdanovich is now out for the Heat also, which is going to make Trey and all of the other pieces a little more interesting in that game. So I'm going to really quickly touch on basketball, Rody. I know it's not your favorite thing, but I know we have a lot of people asking about it. So
yeah. You go with basketball. Give me a second here too. So
yeah. So I'm going to say that like it's really going to be hard not to play at least 3 players from Miami, and I think that you should. It's how do they close? And the weird part is like, so the obvious ones are the obvious ones. There is like we need to know the starting lineup first of all. I think there's an argument to be made for Oladipo here. Call me crazy, but like Miami loses no Butler, no Lowry. What if they're in trouble early? Why wouldn't they go to Oladipo? They let him play 23 minutes the last game. I know there was some blowout run, but you have no Butler and no Lowry. And I mean, he played 35 minutes at a game near the end of the season, put up 69 fantasy points. I don't see people doing this. And I just think that he's an interesting tournament shot that I might just gamble on. I also think Duncan Robinson is a shot you could take a little bit like that too. But the main guys are going to be Vincent, Hero, Bam. And I think you need to have like 3, and I think Caleb Martin too at 3K is the other one you'd want to get some exposure to. That with this news about without, I think Gallinari is back in play. I think Kevin Huerter is back in play. I think Trae Young is a much better play than he's been in a long time. And if you're Atlanta, I mean, you obviously can't lose again. You think this would be a game where you're just out there the whole time, and this would be one where Trae actually can do his thing. So I think you're doing that. I think that you are playing plenty of Jared Vanderbilt, although I always worry it could turn into Jaden McDaniels, but Vanderbilt with back-to-back games over 30 minutes, 27 and 36 fantasy points. He's 4,100. It's a good matchup for his skill set. It's just the problem is every now and then they go with a different lineup that keeps him off the court. But I think that Vanderbilt is the one that makes the most sense right now. I don't think you have to play anybody on Memphis. I don't mind who you want to play. I think Dylan Brooks on FanDuel stands out to me. I think on DraftKings they're getting to a little bit, I don't know. Jaren Jackson, I don't know. One of these times is going to break a slate. I hope I'm on him again. I've had him every day basically, and it's been a letdown, but he's a great real life player. He plays great defense. He's doing his job. I can't really complain. I think Ja is a very safe guy at 9,900. I think you could really start your lineups with Ja, Trae Young, and Chris Paul. Worth noting that Scott Foster is doing the game that Chris Paul's in. He's now 13-0 against Chris Paul in the playoffs. They have a huge ongoing debate, and it's been public. I'm very surprised the NBA is allowing this to happen, but Scott Foster is doing the game. I still am playing Chris Paul. So I think you could play those 3 guards, and then you could you play the Hero, Bam, and then all the value. And I think that's sort of like the general build you're looking at today, mixing in some Larry Nance, mixing in some Herb Jones as the cheap guys. And then the guy who we'll see if he ever ends up actually getting on, but I do like Valanciunas. I think one of Ingram, McCollum, or Valanciunas has a big game. Valanciunas is the cheapest and doesn't have to do so much offensively to get there. He can end up with like 18 rebounds in an ugly game. So I kind of like the idea of playing Valanciunas. I love Cat, Edwards, and Russell. I think you want to try and generally try and get one of those guys in. But if I'm going to prioritize Trae Young, John Morant, and Chris Paul, it's going to be harder for me to get those guys in. So just something worth thinking about. And I'm going to prioritize the Miami situation in a great matchup, obviously, against Atlanta and trying to close out the series at home. So the news is, so apparently there is news that Oladipo may start. Now, if that happens, that means he's probably going to be crazy high owned. But if he doesn't start, I can't imagine that everybody's going to go there. But I'm going to take my shots on it no matter what. I think Max Strus, sure. Yes, it's fine. I don't like Max Strus as much as I would like to get the value from Caleb Martin, but we can't answer that question until we see the starting lineup. Oladipo is starting. There it is. Well, Oladipo is now going to be the mega chalk. I think you kind of have to think about playing him. The one thing is you could see Gabe Vincent, Strus. There's a combination of where Oladipo doesn't end up playing that much. So I would fade him in some lineups, but probably keep him in my big buy-in small field stuff. Dropping any more basketball questions. Me and Rody are going to be out of here in 5 to 10 minutes. So any other basketball or baseball questions? Yep. Oladipo starting, going to be a very difficult fade. That's pretty much all I've got for that. I don't think we have any other new lineups in. We got the Dodgers was projected as projected. Looks like all of my baseball players are green, which is a good sign. All right. Rody, any other thoughts while these guys fire in any more questions, or we'll probably get out of here so you can finish building your lineups pretty soon?
Yeah, man, I am getting behind on my lineups, so I don't have any more thoughts. I still like the same things I did. It's going to be those same stacks that I really like today, and just trying to get different within those. So.
Yeah, sure, it makes sense to me. Nick doesn't like the Oladipo play. All right, don't do it. That would be my advice if you don't like the play. For what it's worth, Max Strus is almost never, unless he makes 8 threes, going to be a must-have on a winning lineup. Oladipo could accidentally be a must-have just by being on the court. Just giving you guys a heads up. What's up?
No.
What's happening?
I found a beautiful Dodgers Toronto stack. I'm $100 off Bellinger for the last fifth guy.
I kept having that happen with Houston and the Dodgers today for some reason.
Oh yeah, I'm struggling. That's why I can't get like a good stack.
Yeah,
I'm just like 100 here, 100 here. Like I keep falling short on guys. So
yeah,
I'm struggling.
Yeah, I got you. Favorite Phoenix safest would be Crowder. Cam Johnson would be my favorite. Meaning Cam Johnson could end up with like 10 fantasy points, or he could end up with like 30 or 40 actually. But I think Crowder is always going to be in the 20 something range. So the Mikal Bridges is too high owned without a question in my mind. But I don't mind. He could get there. I don't mind him, but that's more of like a cashy type of play. The son I'm interested in is Chris Paul, and everybody else is another piece. Cam Johnson would be the guy I would play over Crowder. Very close between those two for me, actually, to be honest with you. And I think with that, we pretty much have answered the questions. We've talked about the stuff. Please like and subscribe before you guys get out of here. Rody, do you have any other things before we get out? Is there anything we didn't touch on? Is there any stack we maybe didn't mention? I know I said I have a little interest in KC. I'm not really playing much, but I like it.
Yeah, I like all the same stuff I talked about. I might be getting on a little bit more of the White Sox, one-offs to mini stacks. So on DK, so that's about it.
I gotcha. Brandon Clark at 5,900. I mean, sorry, that's a Brandon Clark question that I am definitely going to take some shots at. If you're going to play Brandon Clark at 5,900, do yourself a favor and just play Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't care what the results have been recently. We can't be a slave to our environment. That's not the way these things are going to break out. If you want to bank on someone just being in foul trouble every time, and then Brandon Clark has to have like ceiling games to get there, great. Well, meanwhile, we have a guy who averages that number already in the lineup. So I'm not trying to a team that plays 12 guys. I'm not trying to get overly invested in Brandon Clark at 5,900. I think it would be foolish, except for the fact that he'll be low owned. So that's my interest. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to say again, Dodgers, Blue Jays, White Sox, Astros, Yankees, a little bit of Texas. That's it for me. Rody, sign us off, but let us know what one final thought. Give us something. Maybe you already made a strong statement. You're sticking with your two pitchers. Anybody who you really like to hit a home run tonight? Who's going to hit one for us?
Who's gonna hit a home run? Let's go with should I go? I'm gonna say Jordan or Springer, that $5K salary in the outfield. One of
I
those
love
two.
it. I love that actually, both of those. I will say Seager and Vlad Guerrero. All right, guys. Good luck to everybody tonight for True DFS. I'm Bobby Fi saying thank you all very much. Rody, thanks. Great job, man. Good luck, everybody.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.